The film opens in a quiet residential town where we meet a family who appear to be a perfect, well-off, and financially secure household. The father is named Don, his wife is Mona, and their children are Allison and Lynn. Mona is usually the head of the household. Her word is law. Her relationship with her husband is very strong, and everything is done according to her wishes. However, these days they argue a lot and aren't as happy or joyful as usual. Mona isn't raising her children like a typical mother. She tells them they must win at everything and be the best, even if it means cheating. And if they don't listen, her words provoke a harsh reaction, and they are severely punished by her. Don was going through a period of depression and wasn't happy during that time. Mona didn't share his interests. Mona was a highly ambitious person who meticulously planned everything in her life, even setting aside specific times for conversation. Don chose to be patient and accept his circumstances, just to maintain peace and keep his family together. As for their professional lives, he worked as a manager at a store that was opened with funding from Mona's father, meaning Mona was practically the owner. One day, the store needed to hire new employees. A girl named Dusty comes in to interview with Don, and Don is immediately drawn to her. Meanwhile, an employee named Les is excited about the prospect of hiring a pretty girl like Dusty. He convinces Don to accept Dusty and let her work at the shop, telling him they need someone attractive instead of the women they're married to. Later, Don goes to Mona's house, and she tells him her parents are coming for Andrew's birthday party. She tells him he needs to trim the garden plants because her father doesn't like them long. We understand from their conversation that Mona's father also contributed to the price of Don and Mona's house. Because Don is weak-willed, he obeys. The next day, we see Don at his shop, and then we move to the next scene where we see someone who has just killed a person. He then watches TV and sees the advertisement for Don's shop. He goes to the shop, and we see this man and his gang, and the Don family watches him. One of the gang members is personally watching Don and following him to find out where he lives. Meanwhile, Don is still living his boring life with Mona until one day he manages to break his routine and starts a relationship with Dusty. Their relationship grows over time and they fall in love. As a result, Don and Mona's relationship becomes superficial and both of them lose interest. Don's life was initially going smoothly and he was happy in it. His life was busy with exercise and he was able to hide his relationship with Dusty from Mona. Dusty was doing her job perfectly at Don's shop and even won the Employee of the Month award. Mona had started to suspect Don until one day their family had a party at their house and Dusty showed up uninvited. She told Don bad news, saying she was probably pregnant with his child. Don was shocked because he knew she was taking birth control pills, and Dusty refused to have an abortion because she wanted to have a child. She kept pressuring Don to take responsibility, saying it was their fault, but Don refused to listen and left. Afterwards, Don went to meet Les and told him what happened and asked for his advice. Les told him to do what everyone else does in situations like this: give Dusty money to keep quiet and leave his life alone. Les believed that women like Dusty are just trying to make a living this way and want to take advantage of rich men to get money. It turns out that Les is absolutely right, because Dusty is actually involved with a gang leader named Murphy, the man we saw earlier. In other words, Murphy is paying Dusty to approach rich men so they can... Afterwards, they take money from these men and Dusty successfully fulfills her role. Then, Dawn meets Dusty, and taking Les's advice, he offers her $1,000 to end their relationship and never see him again. But Dusty refuses the money, cries and tells him, "You're treating me like a whore." Dawn is then worried and upset that the money plan didn't work and fears his family is in danger. Of course, Mona will act recklessly toward him. Dusty returns to Murphy and tells him what happened. He grabs her by the hair and tells her that $1,000 is too little. He tells her she must ask Dawn for more money, and this time she must demand $25,000. But the problem is that Dawn doesn't have any money, since Mona has all the money and controls everything that goes in and out. Dawn didn't know what to do and was afraid that Dusty would provoke trouble with his family. Since he has no other option, he hesitates but decides to take the risk and tells Mona everything. Mona is shocked by what she hears and calmly but tensely confronts Dawn, asking him if he still loves her her or if he wants a divorce. Don tells her no, that he loves her and his children and is happy with his life with her. Mona yells at him, saying that the girl has to fail. Don responds fearfully, saying she doesn't want to fail, and continues to apologize for what happened. He says, "I'll do whatever you say, but it's not that simple." First, he needed to get a reaction from her. Mona is very angry and keeps bringing up everything she has done for him, all the opportunities and money he got from her father. Here, Mona reveals the dark side of her personality and orders him not to kill Dusty so she cannot blackmail him for money. Mona says that anyone who upsets her family will definitely die. Then they hear the phone ringing, and Mona orders him to answer it and put it on speaker. Dusty tells him she has thought about it and agrees to take the money, but now she wants $25,000. She tells him, "I want this money or I'll tell your wife." Everything is happening, and Mona tells Don to accept the hammer offer. Don gets the hammer and gives it to her, but Mona tells him no, this is his mistake and he has to fix it. Don tells her he is very afraid to commit such a crime. Mona takes the hammer from him and tells him to open the bag and she will do it. He opens the bag and Mona kills her with the hammer, finishing her off. They take her body out of the car and put it on the table. Mona gets the grinder and cuts Dusty's body in cold blood. Don cannot bear to see this and runs to the bathroom. Meanwhile, Murphy is starting to suspect something is wrong because Dusty has been missing for several days and he does not know anything about her. The next day, Les are attacked by Murphy and his gang who beats him up. He says that when he went to the shop, he found out there was no gang there, so they attacked him, beat him, and robbed him. The police are still investigating who did this. After he finishes his work and goes home, he is shocked to see Murphy talking to Andrew outside the house. He runs down to his son, who had just walked past him. Andrew tells him that Murphy said he wants to meet him because he wants to find out where Dusty is. He goes to Mona and tells her about it. She tells Don that she was his dancer before and knows where Dusty lives. She says that Dusty might be the one who attacked him and that she sent him a message through Andrew, who lives in the same building. That night, he goes. He immediately meets Murphy, who asks where Dusty is, and Don is still able to lie and tell him that he gave her the money and does not know where she went after that. Murphy believes him and thinks Dusty ran away with the money, and he threatens Don and tells him, "I want $20,000 tomorrow, otherwise I will cause problems for you, your wife, and your family." After he leaves and walks away, he finds Mona waiting outside, and he tells her what Murphy said. She tells him that they are going to bury Dusty's body at the gang's house. That night, he calls Murphy, and they agree to meet somewhere so he can give him the money. And Mona is the one who tells him to do this, so that the gang's house will remain empty, and Mona is the one who draws the plan. They break into the gang's house, and the house is empty and no one is really there. Then Mona opens the refrigerator and puts parts of Dusty's body in it, including Dusty's head. Seconds later, a member of the gang returns to the house with his friend, and Mona kills them with a kitchen knife. Then Mona walks in and assumes the gang is still alive and calls Don and tells him that the men came back and she killed them. Then Mona takes out a secret cell phone from her pocket and calls the police and reports a murder that has occurred in Murphy's house. Murphy quickly returns home and sees his friend's body and also discovers parts of Dusty's body in the refrigerator. And then Murphy realizes that Mona is the one who has done all this to him. The police arrived and the gang opened fire on them. The police killed one of the gang members, and Murphy managed to escape through a secret opening in his house. That night, Don was curious about everything his wife was doing and asked her about her past. He thought Mona had experienced some trauma or shock when she was young, which affected her current behavior. Unexpectedly, this question upset Mona and made her cry. She told him that her parents had been very good to her and treated her well. She warned him that if he asked her a question like that again, she would kill him and disfigure him completely, just like she had done to Dusty. What Don heard forces him to live a life full of fear and anxiety after hearing Mona's threats. Mona's madness didn't stop there. She began plotting to kill their neighbor's son because he was physically fit and outperformed her son Andrew in all games. The next morning, the police arrive at Don's house with news of his employee Dusty Dusty's death. They've arrested her killer, but one is still at large. However, that's not the important part. Someone reports that Don had met Murphy's gang before, so Don confesses to the officer that he was involved with Dusty. He also tells him that Dusty's boyfriend asked him to pay her money instead of telling Mona, so he met Murphy to give him the money. The officer understands his position and sarcastically tells him that if Mona had found out, Don would have been the one killed. While they are talking, the neighbor's dog enters Don's garage. Mona gets angry, takes the dog, and returns it to the neighbors, warning them that she won't behave herself if she finds the dog there again. Then, on Andrew's birthday, they celebrate at their house. Don opens the refrigerator and discovers that the neighbor's dog has been killed and that Mona has put its body inside the refrigerator. On the birthday, Andrew is playing with Les's son, and Mona sees that Andrew is struggling to win the game, which makes her angry. She says the competition between them isn't fair and thinks her son isn't taking performance-enhancing drugs. She then sees Andrew's friend's mother and threatens her, saying, "I wish you were dead, Andrew's sister." She sees Andrew can't win the game, so she snatches the stick from him and wins it herself. We see that Allison is Mona's favorite child, and Mona always treats her better than she treats Andrew. Don gets annoyed when he sees how Mona treats Andrew and thinks that when Allison grows up, she will be like her mother, maybe even worse. So he decides it's time to put an end to his wife's madness and goes to cut the electricity to the garage, passing by the light bulb. He sets up a short circuit in the garage, tries to turn on the light, and gets an electric shock. He opens a gas cylinder, and the smell of gas fills the garage. He asks Mona to go to the garage and get him something. While Mona is going, Don comes out of the house as if nothing happened. Mona enters the garage, and when she turns on the light, the short circuit occurs. After the short circuit and the garage fills with gas, a huge explosion happens, and Mona dies. After Don is finally rid of her, he now lives in a new house and enjoys his inheritance. He and his children are now living happily without the restrictions of Mona's controlling life. Don is relieved but still scared, but the movie isn't over yet because the police couldn't arrest Murphy. We see Murphy watching the kids and following them. The movie ends here. Thanks for watching this recap. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to comment below and tell me what movie or series you want me to recap next.